welcome back to the Fumble Live. Thanks for checking in with us today. So we're talking about Donovan Mitchell. He was mic'd up and was caught saying some kind of trolly things about the Clippers. And speaking of trolling, the Nets have been trolling Giannis throughout, they trolled him throughout game one, but that's actually going to be stopping pretty soon. Before we dive into this news, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on all things social media at JRayTheFanatic. Now, I am super excited because today is Challenge Accepted Wednesday. And guess what, you guys? You see his name in the chat all the time, Kevin Pryor, who often frequents our chat. He is my co-host today on Challenge Accepted. So see what happens when you're a normal human being with insight. I actually read your responses to me on social media, and he did a phenomenal job, you guys. So make sure you check out Challenge Accepted today at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because it's going to be great.
Emphasis on the normal bit, emphasis right on that. I love that. Kevin Pryor was elevated from fan in the chat to guest on the show. So if you guys are nice to us and you actually have something insightful to say, stay mad. You might actually be invited on someday.
You won't go unread. You won't be sitting in unread in forever.
Exactly. What would be very interesting though, Jackie, is if you did bring Stay Mad on for Challenge Accepted one day. We would just see what would happen.
That might be a challenge. Like somebody might challenge, if you lose this challenge, you have to bring Stay Mad on. That might be a punishment for a challenge, but I don't see me just doing that on purpose.
He's in the chat right now saying, why do I feel like that's a shot at me? We're just playing. You're funny, Jeremiah Smith. You are very funny. But yes, Kevin Pryor, welcome to the life of a Fumble personality. I'm so excited to see Challenge Accepted come out at 1 p.m. today. I think that's going to be a really, really great one. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, let's jump into the news. Let's talk about Donovan Mitchell, because he was mic'd up during the broadcast of Game 1 against the Clippers, and he was caught delivering a pretty savage diss at the Clippers while speaking to his teammates on the bench as they were getting ready for the fourth quarter. And I think that he was really, really hyped up and really extra motivated because the team did struggle in the first half. There was even a point where they missed 20 straight shots, and they fell behind by 13 points in the process. So that was pretty big. In the third quarter, Donovan definitely stepped up to the plate. He helped the team kind of catch back up, and they were tied 79-79 heading into the fourth quarter. So the Clippers were playing in Game 7 just 2 days ago, and Donovan felt like the best plan of action for the Jazz was to kind of fatigue them even more, because he felt like they were likely tired from playing in that Game 7 so recently. So check out this clip here. Leo, can we throw that up there?
They played Game 7 2 days ago. It's all how we start this quarter. They'll call it quits and get ready for Game 2 if we make them. Let's get ready for that. Shots fall, shots don't fall. Keep being the monster.
This is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? You just keep getting your mind right, and it overcomes everything, just like you're doing. Okay? Let's go. Do it on D, it'll happen on O.
We ain't gonna get nothing the next 4. We ain't gonna get nothing the next 4. Stay locked in up here.
So he was definitely trying to, boost up the intensity for his teammates, and the focus there was on that Game 7 that the Clippers did play, and they did kind of gain control of the fourth quarter, and he did kind of work in on the Clippers' helpless defense, but he wasn't totally right in his assessment, because the Clippers did have a lot of fight still left in them. It didn't look to me like they were super tuckered out by that point. They were fighting really, really hard, and it would have gone into overtime, but Jackie, Rudy Gobert came in, saved the day.
Let me tell you something. We're gonna talk about that on the post up. But I know our producer was so annoyed with me because I texted her right when it happened. I'm like, "Did you see Rudy?" Radio silence. He said nothing to me.
Yep, I know. With that moment, I was like, Jackie's probably celebrating right now. And I know we are talking about this moment in the post-up. So I'm not going to even give it away because I want you to have your moment, Jackie. But he did save the day. He ended the game from going into overtime, and they walked away with a 112-109 victory. So let's talk about the remainder of this matchup. Do you have any early predictions, Jackie?
Well, I do think, I mean, what Donovan said, I was proud of him for saying that specific thing, because basically I mean, like you said, the Clippers did kind of stay on this trajectory, but they went into, I think they were up like 13 at the half, and then they lost that that started dwindling away pretty quickly. So I think Donovan was right. Like, hey, these guys are going to tucker themselves out. All we have to do is what we're supposed to do. If we do exactly what we're supposed to do, everybody plays their part, nobody goes missing, then let's do that. It was one of those moments when Paul George was on the sideline and he had his head kind of down, and I was like, oh, damn, here we go. And then I don't know what conversation he had in his head, but he literally talked himself up, because he literally had his head down, and then he jumped up and he started moving around. And I was like, okay, that's the Paul George I want to see. Obviously, I'm not going for the Clippers, but in that moment, I felt really good about Paul George's role, and that he would probably kind of level up. And like you said, they went out there and they did their thing, but they did exactly what Donovan said on the Utah side. Everybody played their role. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. I thought it was a great game. And it's one of those games where I don't know. I've been calling Clippers or Utah in 6, but Clippers didn't give up the way that they normally do in the fourth quarter. You know, they usually kind of all fizzle out. The reason why Donovan said that, I know everyone feels like it's a troll, but the reason why Donovan said that is because that's what we're used to seeing. They kind of go missing in the fourth quarter, and they didn't do that this time. So this one was kind of like y'all gonna play the whole game? I wasn't expecting that. I think it might go 7, but I'm sticking with Utah on this one.
So do you think that the Clippers then really aren't that tired from playing game 7 just a few days ago, and that maybe they've heard all this noise about them disappearing in the fourth quarter, so they're kind of determined to not live up to those expectations even more so than before?
Well, sometimes, a say less moment is always good. We've seen the majority of these athletes, the more negative fuel you put out there, the more they feed off of it, and then they level up. So this might be a thing where we should have probably stopped saying that. But everybody, and I've been saying this over and over and over again, everybody needs to drink playoff juice. I know we've for years kind of equated that to LeBron, but everybody is supposed to level up in the playoffs. And they have to, especially with the Lakers going out, this is their moment. This is their moment to step up and try to claim what they spent all that advertisement on and be the team that's in LA. Fatigue is a real thing. I don't want to dismiss fatigue, because when you're playing at a high level and you only have a couple of days to rest, and then it's one of those things where it's almost like Shaq says this all the time. Shaq says, when they're on a run and then there's more than a day or two between a game, you kind of lose your momentum, because a body in motion kind of stays in motion, right? So it's a catch-22 on both sides. But I don't want to say that playing back to back to back to back like that is not, a detriment. The body needs rest. We know that. But at the same time, too much rest kind of puts it in a stagnant state. So it might have been to their benefit to kind of keep the momentum going, but they didn't close out the fourth quarter. But it wasn't because they did what they typically do and go missing. They played that entire game, which we're not used to seeing. So I don't want to dismiss them like that, but I want Utah to dismiss them. So yeah.
Yeah, they did put up a fight until the bitter end, and I'm surprised by that for more than one reason. One, I mean, we do see them disappear in the fourth quarter a lot. Last year in the playoffs, they were just a disaster. Yeah. And then also on top of all of that, the rumors about Kawhi, being ready to kind of jump ship regardless of what happens in the postseason. We've heard kind of two sets of rumors here where if they don't make it to the Western Conference semifinals, Kawhi's out, or the Western Conference Finals, Kawhi's out, and also that he's just kind of ready to go no matter what. So I was thinking that going into the playoffs, Kawhi was kind of going to be that sort of like, I mean, he is always a bit laid back, but I just thought that he was going to lack that kind of like intensity that we would want to see him have. But that's definitely, I have been proven wrong by the Clippers in the playoffs thus far, which is kind of a surprise to me.
But we created those rumors. Let's just be clear. I've been one of those perpetuating those rumors, and it's not anything that Kawhi has said, and it's not anything he's currently done with the Clippers. I'm judging him off of his desire to get out of San Antonio, and how he kind of played that situation out, brought a whole new set of doctors in to contradict what the team's doctor said. I'm judging him on past situations. You literally left a situation where you seem to be the missing piece, and you could have ran it back with that team, but you chose to leave for whatever reason. So this isn't the rumors that exist. I think that where there's smoke, there's fire. I always think there's some truth to every rumor. But to be clear, in this case, this hasn't been like he said some sort of cryptic message on his social media, or he let something accidentally slip in a post-game interview. That's not the case. This is us judging Kawhi by past actions. So maybe we're wrong. Maybe this, what we're seeing from him is his commitment to stay with that team long term.
Maybe, but in our defense, we have read and seen reports of sources that have come forward who are close to Kawhi. And I know sources, I mean, that's such a weak link. But there have been so many times where what the sources have said have been true and completely accurate. So I think that, we are kind of taking the little, the buzz of information that we're hearing around the internet, and we're kind of taking that and maybe making assumptions or perpetuating a rumor or whatever it is. But Kawhi has a track record of jumping ship even when he maybe shouldn't. So it wouldn't be all that surprising if he did decide to leave the Clippers after a second season. And he has that player option for a reason, we know that he wanted that there so that he would have that option. So, it is interesting. Maybe we are seeing his commitment to the Clippers. I still have my doubts. I still think he could be ready to move on to something else, regardless of what happens.
I do too. I definitely think his commitment is more to this moment than it is the team. So I think in his heart, he needs this moment to solidify his commitment to the team. So it could be, they're kind of mirroring each other. He knows that he needs to get to at least the finals to really be committed to the Clippers, and he's going to do everything that he can to make sure that happens. So it could be a commitment to the moment and the end goal more than it is the team. But if he gets to his end goal, then that'll solidify his commitment to the team. So I don't think one can exist without the other, but, we'll just have to see.
We'll have to see. So let's move on then. Let's talk about this new update on trolling at an NBA game. So each time Giannis stepped up to the... Jackie, I love it. I know you think this is ridiculous. So each time Giannis stepped up to the line in game 1 of the Nets versus Bucks series, he had this kind of whole... what can I call it? Like a whole experience that would happen, like a whole production. On the board above half court, there was a digital clock that counted down the number of seconds Giannis held the ball before shooting it. So players, it's a rule of basketball, they must shoot within 10 seconds of being handed the ball by the ref. But Giannis is not the best shooter, and he's notorious for holding on to the ball for much longer than that, and refs are almost always reluctant to call it. It's having this board there was definitely like the ultimate trolling experience. I thought it was kind of funny. I think that if anybody's going to be able to kind of handle a little bit of humor in that situation, I think Giannis is that guy. But it was fun, and it also was effective. So, Leo, can we play the clip of that right now?
I love it.
So it's a whole thing, a whole experience. There we go again. I know, I think it's kind of funny. I don't really have much of a problem with it at all. But when the Nets and Bucks took to the court on Monday, that whole countdown clock was gone. It was nowhere to be found. And according to reports, the NBA objected to it and had it removed because gamesmanship and trolling is something that they don't want to tolerate. So this is a direct quote from an article that says, an NBA source said the league ordered the Nets to cut out the gamesmanship tactic of a timer shown on the overhead scoreboard at the Barclays Center during Game 1 of their playoff series against the Bucks whenever the two-time MVP was at the line. The league doesn't advocate teams inciting the taunting of other players, the source added. Well, okay, like take down the clock, but you were not going to stop the fans, and the fans just did the countdown themselves. They were just shouting out the numbers themselves. So regardless, people are going to get into Giannis's head. And also, like, how much trolling and taunting have we seen in the playoffs alone? I mean, the Flyers saying Trae Young is balding, and you know, like all of that, it's so much worse than just this little clock that's counting down. And also, I feel like watching this in the game is fun. There's an element of humor to it, and I think it makes the game a little bit more competitive and a little bit more exciting. So, do you think? I know what your answer is going to be, but humor me with this question here, Jackie. Is the NBA making the right choice in having the Nets stop this countdown clock, or are they just kind of taking the fun out of everything?
Absolutely not. I mean, this is the dumbest thing ever. When you guys know I'm from Denver. I have season tickets to the Broncos, and since the dawn of time, if you go to Mile High Stadium and you pass the ball and you're the opposing team and it's incomplete, the guy that announces joins the crowd, and this big thing comes on the screen, and it goes incomplete, and it's loud. Next time you hear a Bronco game when it's in Mile High, you didn't hear it last season because there's no one there, but just listen to how loud it is, and it reminds you just failed miserably, and the fans love it. Guys, that the opposing team hates it, but it really brings the fans into the game, makes them feel like they're a part of the game, makes them feel like their voices is heard. They're that 12th man, as they say. You know, it makes them really feel involved. And this is no different than that. This is the fans. The fans actually started this. Let's be clear. The fans started this. The Nets was like, okay, we're going to join in with you. And it just makes everyone feel like they're a part. And that's the one thing that all fans want to do, right? They want to feel like they're a part of the game. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm petty as hell. I'm going to team up with Sprint, T-Mobile, or whoever, and I'm getting everybody little clocks. And just like the Knicks set those little flyers on everybody's chair, I'm setting these little clocks that they can just hold up. If I can't do this big one, we're going to have thousands and thousands of little ones. And that is probably going to be way worse. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to stop me from bringing my fans into the game. Because if you can bring that, you hear commentators say that all the time. Oh, Trae Young just silenced the crowd. That's the last thing you want. You want the crowd to stay in the game. And if the clock does that, or if something I leave on their chair does that, even though I thought that was mad disrespectful what the Knicks did, it was funny. And it gave everyone this kind of unifying chant, and it's dope. When you can bring the fans into the game, it's dope. This is why people say the NBA is getting soft, because you can't even have fun anymore without somebody being like, "Oh, you got to step in. This ain't right." It's ridiculous. It's so stupid.
I know. I think it's stupid too. And you know what's interesting is when Steve Nash and Coach Budenholzer, or whatever his name is, I always struggle. I'm trying to say it fast the way you say it, Jackie. It's like one of those things that in my head I like can see it spelled out, and I just have the hardest time getting it out of my mouth. But they both said they didn't know anything about it. They didn't have any reason. Like, they said that they weren't involved. They didn't ask for it to be taken down, blah, 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 blah. So we know that superstars tend to get special treatment. That's just a known fact of the NBA. Do you think that Giannis maybe said something about it and the NBA chose to side with him? Or what do you think was the motivation behind them removing that clock?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think that Giannis might have said something to somebody. Perhaps he didn't reach out to someone like in the higher up who could actually make that decision. But I think he said something to somebody who said something to somebody and was like, oh my God, Giannis doesn't like this. Oh, say less, fam. I will fix this. And because, you know, he's that guy. He's one of the faces of the NBA. So that's where we're at with this now, where I don't think he should get that clout yet. I think I need to see a little bit more from him. Especially, I don't know if you guys saw his post-game interview where he said, you know, maybe we'll win game 3. You know, I didn't feel down. I didn't feel up when we beat the Heat. I don't feel down now that we're down 2. So maybe we'll win game 3. That is that he should never. I know we talk about post-game interviews. You are never doing another post-game interview, sir. If it's me, I'll pay your fine. But you out here sounding like you don't care if we win or lose. And I just can't have the 2-time MVP, star of my team, sounding like that. But when you are the 2-time MVP, I do think, even though you shouldn't talk sometimes, I think he said something to somebody and was like, I can't concentrate when they do that. And it's so hard for me to shoot free throws anyway. Can you guys do something? And then something happened. That's what I think. I think his goal was probably to silence the fans, and all he got was the clock. So it is what it is.
God. You know, it's funny because when you look at Giannis and you see him on social media and you see him after a game, most of the time he is seemingly like a very kind of upbeat, optimistic kind of guy. Seems like he can take a joke. You know, remember when he and James Harden kind of got into it a little bit? This was pre-pandemic, or maybe right as the pandemic was starting. But even that, he didn't seem to really take it too seriously, where James Harden seemed to be getting really kind of in his feelings about it. And Giannis is like, dude, chill. It's not that big of a deal. So it's hard for me to actually imagine Giannis being the one sitting there complaining about this, because I feel like he knows he holds on to the ball too long. It's a known fact, you know what I mean? And I feel like he's the kind of guy that would probably be able to poke fun at himself for that. So that's why I was not inclined to believe that he was the one who kind of pushed for this to change. So I'm a little surprised by your take, because I think that he can take a joke and he can handle a little bit of humor, but maybe he's softer than we realize.
I think times have changed. I mean, because if 2019 you had told me that I was going to arrive in 2021 and Giannis was out here talking about he doesn't, well, if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. I would have said that's never going to happen. I would have said that Giannis is a true competitor, and his narrative is always going to be that he wants to win. He's going to call out things that he should do. He's probably not going to call out his teammates, but he's going to take some ownership, and he's going to say, we've got to do better. We've got to go out there and do everything we can to win. If you'd have told me then that we're going to get this Giannis that goes, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, we'll see, I wouldn't have believed you. So times change, and I don't know if Giannis has always been this way. I don't know if maybe he is, because I feel like you have to have a little bit of an edge to really be successful in this league. You have to be a little cocky to be very successful in this league. Maybe Giannis doesn't have either of those. And now, constantly saying, oh, you can't have the 2-time MVP on your team and fail, and all the criticisms about him not having an outside shot. Maybe all of that, because he's so lighthearted and, happy-go-lucky, maybe it's taking its toll on him in a little bit, and maybe he's suffering from something that we don't even know, because it kind of seemed that way when he had that conversation in the Heat series, and then it seems that way again in his post game now. So maybe there's more to him that we don't know, other than him just being a happy-go-lucky guy. But I still think it was him.
I guess if there's anybody that is going to be mad about that, it's him, and it's his diehard fans. Those are the people that are going to complain the most about it. Anyway, this whole thing, the whole NBA deciding that they need to take down this clock, it's ridiculous to me. It kind of takes the fun out of home court advantage, and I have no problem with it. We should all be able to, that's part of the experience of being at a game. Fans taunting and trolling the opposing team, players taunting and trolling each other. So what's the big deal if there's this clock? All it is counting down seconds. It's really not that offensive. So I think that this was silly, and definitely does support the narrative that the NBA is soft. And I don't like that. I don't want the NBA to be soft. All right, you guys. Well, let's wrap up Need to Know News. Let's talk about Rudy Gobert. Jackie's excited to get into it, I know. So we'll go to the post-up.
I've been waiting all morning. I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this. I can't wait to talk about this, because let me tell you something. I text everyone except for Devin, because I knew Devin was probably somewhere going, so I didn't text Devin, but I text Arthur, our producer. I even text my ex, because he knows how much I love Rudy Gobert. I text everybody did you see? Yeah, because he always gave Rudy shade, especially when that whole pandemic thing came out. And you guys know, I don't know if you guys know, but there was, I don't know what game it was, but some fans had a big sign that said, don't touch COVID Rudy or something like that. He gets so much shade. And I did a mass text to everybody. Did you see what Rudy just did? Nobody texted me back, but that's okay because I knew I was going to have this moment right here on the Fumble. So I'm going to take this moment and y'all going to watch Rudy and his greatness and him and all of his defensive prowess, and he should be a 3-time defensive player of the year. But y'all take a look at my boy doing his thing. Take a look.
Ball fake, running out of time. Morris, one dribble, blocked.
Oop.
And that'll do it. That's game.
That was a clutch defensive play. We always talk about those clutch buzzer beaters. That was a clutch defensive play that helped them win the game. That was the reason why they won that game. So just for my sake, can we just watch it one more time? Just for me. This is my moment.
Ball fake, running out of time. Morris, one dribble, blocked. And that'll do it. That's game.
That's game. That is Rudy Gobert's game. I love you, Rudy. Well done, sir. One user actually said the same thing I did, and she had to give Donovan some credit as well. So she said, what an exciting finish. I agree. And Donovan, my goodness, totally agree with that. I was so happy to see what Donovan was doing out there and how he just stepped up. And what do I always say? You need that vocal leader. He stepped up and was doing that. That was such a good game. I loved every aspect. But speaking of Donovan, let's get right on into this next one, because this one, I freaking love this. If you did not, because I know sometimes a lot of people didn't recognize because he had the mask on or whatever, but your boy Dwyane Wade was at the game, you guys. If you don't know, he does own 9% of the Utah Jazz. So he has a whole investment into this situation. But this is reason like 9,800 and whatever why I'm probably going to be pro-mask for a very long time, because you can coach your boy up and nobody knows anything about what you're saying. Take a look.
Smaller market, but Donovan Mitchell is proving himself to be one of those guys. When you talk about the true,
I love that. And I just love how Donovan was kind of embracing it, because everybody calls him, the baby D Wade, and he was just sitting there nodding and embracing that. And that's just a leadership quality as well, being able to take insight from one of the greatest to ever do it as well. And so that was a beautiful moment. I love seeing Dwyane Wade there and Gabby. That was a great moment. I am so excited for the future for Donovan Mitchell. I think that this is going to be just a fantastic thing for him going forward, and just the love that he's getting. They had a moment where they embraced after the game, and Gabby gave him a hug. This is fantastic. But again, Dwyane Wade does have ownership in the team, so he wants him to succeed. But I also believe that he just genuinely wants to see Donovan succeed. But Devin, what did you think of this moment? Was it as great for you? Did you love seeing this?
Yeah, I liked seeing it. I thought it was funny because to me, the way D Wade looks like he's kind of coaching him from the sidelines, it's like he was trying to sort of hide that he was doing it. At least that's how I felt. Like he was trying to be definitely a little bit low key about it. But like obviously he has that ownership stake in the team, so he's got a personal investment in their success. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing this. I like that.
I love watching Gabby too, because first of all, if you don't remember how Gabby was on the sideline when Dwyane was playing, the girl loves basketball. She's always turned up, but she was looking at Dwyane like, yep, that's right. Tell him, baby. Yep, do all that, Donovan. I loved the whole moment. She was just like, Are you listening? Do that. I love seeing her on the sideline because she's so animated. But this was just a great moment in time. I hope that the Utah Jazz can build off of this moment, because that whole night was great. Speaking of greatness, it happened just as we thought it would. The Joker is the league's MVP. I definitely think he deserved it. You guys know, for me, it came down between the Joker and Joel, but Joel just didn't play enough games, and so Joker got it. Well deserved. So let's take a look at his moment. First, before we take a look at that, he remembered how he was drafted. So the association posted this tweet that says Nikola Jokic was picked 41st during a Taco Bell commercial. Now we didn't even get to see it. He was picked 40. So if you can't see it, I zoomed in and it says round 2, 41st picked. So he didn't even get to see the whole, ding, ding. Like none of that happened. It was just like during the commercial while you're thinking about getting some sort of taco wrap. Oh yeah, Joker was picked up too. That's so disrespectful, but we're going to change that. We're going to give him more respect now, and we're going to see the moment where he actually got his MVP award. Take a look.
Sure, we turn our attention to Commissioner Adam Silver, who wants to take us through a couple of things. Adam, the floor is yours. Good to see you.
You too, Coach, and sorry to interrupt your meeting. As you said, I have some important news. That is that it's my honor to announce that Nikola Jokic is this year's Kia Most Valuable Player. Congratulations, Nikola.
This is the first MVP in Nuggets history, right? And the first MVP, second round? Second round MVP, first ever, first in franchise history. First Serbian ever. And first of many.
I just want to tell you guys that this is not it's individual honor, of course, but I couldn't do it without you guys, so it's my honor, it's my trophy, whatever, but you guys are a big part of it, so thank you everybody who is in this room. Thank you guys.
I love that, and I think he's suburban, right? I think suburbia, wherever he's from. He's the first for that, so he's got. Where is he from? Suburbia.
Wait,
where is he from? I said suburbia. Where the hell is he from? I don't even know.
You said suburbia. Oh my God, that was the best thing ever. It's Serbia, but suburbia is, you know, like.
Oh Jesus! I literally said suburbia. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
That's so good. I love that.
That was great. I'm so sorry. Okay, ooh, that was hilarious. That's hilarious. I had a moment. Okay, well, anyway, he's the first from over there to win it as well. Oh, I'm dying over here. That was hilarious. Okay, congratulations to you, Joker. I'm so sorry for. Yes, you can.
I want to say one thing. So I know that everybody's like, oh, it's like embarrassing that he was picked during a Taco Bell commercial, but I think that we should take a moment and appreciate that out of all the fast food commercials, it was Taco Bell and it wasn't like Wendy's or something like that, right? Like at least it was like the upper echelon of fast food chains. So I just want to say that could have been worse. Still not great, but could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have been worse. But, you know, depending on what time of day you eat Taco Bell is worse. I'm just saying. Depending on
so what's the worst time? What is the worst time?
After you drink. Because, you know, after you drink, sometimes you crave like greasy food or something like that. I would just recommend going to a diner and getting something. But if you eat Taco Bell right after you drink, you will pay for that in the morning. For those of you who are not old enough to drink, take that nugget for when you are. Just drive past Taco Bell. That's not the one you want to stop at. Go to Wendy's.
It's a very difficult thing to do to drive past Taco Bell when you have drunchies, or not. You wouldn't be driving, obviously. You'd be in an Uber, but do not ask the Uber driver to stop. Yeah,
responsible. Be responsible. All right, that was great. That got me. Okay, so let's get into this next one because. We've talked about this a lot, you know, guys responding to the hate that they get and how they respond to it and how it really makes them feel. So CJ is in that boat because even here on the show, we've talked about that it's just not a good fit with CJ and Dame and what should happen, what should come next for CJ and because Dame's not going to leave. So we've talked about that a lot and probably never once even thought about how that's making CJ feel. But CJ responded to this post. I'm going to show you this one where he's kind of talking about the exact same thing we've been talking about. CJ McCollum has seen trade rumors most his whole career, and he's kind of like Kyle Kuzma like that. He's always on the chopping block, but not because he's problematic, though I concede size/defense as a suboptimal fit, but because Portland trade chips of any real value have long been Lillard, which we know is that he's off the table. McCollum, a reasonable yield. Everyone else, oof. Like you're not getting anything for any, like you would literally have to trade the rest of the whole squad to get one decent person. So I think this guy, what he's really trying to say is, hey, this isn't a reflection on CJ. It's just a reflection that they don't have anyone else to trade if they're not going to trade Dame to get any kind of value. So that's why he's always on the chopping block because he's the only value that they got. But CJ did respond to that as expected. He says, I'm not offended, brother. I came from nothing to more than something. I work hard, show up and do my job to the best of my ability. Everyone has a right to their own opinion, even if that means they want to see me traded. It's part of the life when you play this sport. Blessings. And I think that's one of those things that everybody knows. But being traded is not something you want. Especially when you're someplace you want to be. You don't want to be someplace that they just shipped you to. Now you're just here because this is where you have to be, not because you're where you want to be. There's a difference in those two things. But a fan did have an opinion on this as well. So this one says, people don't want you to be traded because you're not great. You could be a number one option on another team. It's literally never been about anything besides positional fit. And you guys have said that a lot in our chat. You said that they basically play the same position and they don't fire at the same time. So it's not necessarily about CJ as much as it is, this might not be the right fit. I think we all can agree that this is not the right fit. Even if I think we all can tell that that's where he wants to be, but it's just not working. And you have to shake things up. And unfortunately, he's the only one that's going to get them any kind of real leverage. So CJ, I'm glad you're not taking it personal, because I don't want you to feel like it's like nobody appreciates you. It's just that it's not a right fit. So I'm glad that he feels okay about that. But this next one, I'm going to take a beat, and because I definitely want to see what you guys are going to say in the chat about this one, because, you know, we talked about something similar when Shannon had Julio on the phone. We didn't know if that was real or not, but Julio never came out and said anything about Shannon Sharpe. So I think we can concede whether he knew that the call was recorded or not. He didn't have a problem with it. And that's the most important thing. But Jay Willis is out here, and according to KD, he is straight lying about something he said about Giannis. So let me show you the clip where Jay Willis basically says KD told him something at a party. Take a listen.
Right? Gave the breakdown. Kevin Durant comes up to me at the club and says, yo, don't you ever compare me to Giannis again. Don't you ever do that. I was like, Kev, what are you talking about? Calm down. First off, I'm talking about scenarios, like stylistically, the way you guys play a little bit, size, length. He's like, nah, don't ever compare that dude to me. Don't do it.
So there's a lot to unpack there. Number one, Jay, if that actually happened, why are you saying it on a publicly syndicated? Like, why are you putting him out there like that? Because if he did say this to you, then that's supposed to be in confidence. That is something he addressed to you about something you had said. Now, on the flip side, Steven Jackson came out and said, ain't nobody in the NBA talking to Jay Williams because we know who he is as a person. He's not part of our fraternity. We don't talk to him. So that's what Steven Jackson said. And then KD also decided to clap back and let us know he's not talking to Jay Williams like that. And I kind of, sometimes with KD, I don't know if I believe what he says or if I think he's just being KD, but whatever. But he said, mans will do anything to advance their careers in this media stuff, wanting to be accepted by an industry that will dispose of you whenever they please. Keep my name out, y'all. Keep my name out, all that corny ass talk about who's better and legacy and all that dumb stuff. I don't even talk like that. And Steven Jackson said the same thing. Steven Jackson was like, KD doesn't talk like that. He does not compare himself to anybody. So I think I'm having to fall. And again, sometimes I just don't know, because we do know that KD's sometimes a troll, and I could see him saying he didn't say something that he actually did. But at the same time, he also will say, yeah, no, I said that, but this is how I meant it. So I'm kind of falling on the side of KD. But fans seem to think that Jay is totally wrong. This guy says he has a point. Jay will trying for job security. Anything scandalous give ratings will solidify your job. And unfortunately, you know, usually when this happens, though, people say sources. They don't really just name a specific person. They say somebody who's close to the situation told me blah, 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 blah. And then you got a 50-50 chance of that actually being true. But this time he specifically said he saw KD at a party and he said this to him. This is just mind-boggling to me, because, again, if KD said it, you're wrong for repeating it. But KD saying he's not saying it, and so then you just out here lying? Devin, I don't even know where to start with all this. What do you make of this whole thing?
Okay, so I think that it would be a super, I kind of maybe am disagreeing with you on this one, Jackie. I think that it would have been a super bold move for Jay Williams to come out and say this whole thing that never happened, create this whole lie about KD, knowing fully well that he was talking from a firsthand experience. And if it was false, KD was going to come back and clap back as he did and deny it. KD in the past, his track record shows that he is can be a little bit of a, confrontational person behind the scenes, whether he's sending somebody DMs or approaching somebody in public. He has no problem defending his own pride and his own ego, which I understand. But then he also is exactly the type of person to downplay it once word gets out, just as, he did with with that actor guy. Now I'm blanking on what his name was. Remember the actor guy that they were like, come meet me on the corner
idiot Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport. Exactly. So obviously Michael Rappaport blew things out of proportion, but KD was very quick to kind of try and downplay it and be like, yo, we're just friends, blah, 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 blah. So I think that KD is the type of person to kind of create some drama behind the scenes, but doesn't want other people to know about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this actually truly did happen. And again, just to reiterate what I said before, I think it would be very bold for Jay Williams to come out and say this happened when he literally is just making it up, especially speaking from a firsthand experience.
So I don't disagree with your thought process, and that's why I'm back and forth on it, but there's two parts of that. Number one, if KD did say it and he's putting it out there in this public forum, I saw Nerd Soul in the chat say this. This is why people don't want to talk to media. This is why Stephen A always says sources, because maybe Stephen A has a bunch of firsthand experience, but he doesn't, because you put yourself in a position that even if this is true, nobody's going to talk to you now. People are going to see you on the street and literally look past you because you said something, and you said something in the middle of a series. These two players are facing off against each other. So A, if it was said, you shouldn't have repeated it. B, when's the last time we talked about Jay Williams? You know what I mean? We quote a lot of commentators. We talk about things Shannon Sharp says, Skip Bayless says, Stephen A says. This is the first time in the 3 years I've been on the show that we've talked about Jay Williams. So technically, is KD not right? Is this not what he wanted? Because guess what? I woke up today. This headline about Jay Williams. I've never seen Jay Williams on a headline. Never, not once. So that's why I don't know.
I have to give you credit for that, because you are right. And he probably is doing whatever he can for his own job security, trying to, save his ass, even if that means repeating something that was supposed to remain confidential because he knew it would get higher ratings and more views, or making something up. It's hard for me to imagine people just fully making stories up like this about other people who can comment back publicly and deny it or challenge it or whatever it is. So it's very hard for me to imagine that somebody would put themselves in that position. What were you saying?
It's Katie's comment that is the reason why we're talking about it. If Katie doesn't comment, guess what we're still not doing? Talking about Jay Williams. This doesn't make a single headline if Katie doesn't clap back. So that's what I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know, but I do know this. This is my first time in my sports life talking about Jay Williams. So there's a side of me that feels like this was intentional. And you bait somebody like KD in. I be trying to bait KD in all kinds of stuff. He ain't never responded to me, and I try to bait him on purpose. I'm telling y'all right now, I try to bait him on purpose because I need Jackie Ray in a headline. You know what I'm saying? But he doesn't respond to me. So again, I just feel like this was intentional. I don't know. I'm not trying to say I know for sure, but I feel like Jay was lying. That's just my take. But let's move on to this next one, because this next one is about my rookie of the year. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So there's this pro Madden player who says that Anthony Edwards gets on all the time and plays with him, and he's played up a huge debt. So let me show you this tweet, because this is a big debt. I mean, so he says, NBA rookie Anthony Edwards is down bad. Dude owes me $22,000 and blocked me on everything. Please make this go viral. This is some real scumbag stuff. Also, I have audio and video recording of everything. So I didn't post it on here, but I can tell you, I went to this guy's YouTube page. He is not lying. Anthony, he's got a YouTube page where he plays people. And sure enough, it's Anthony Edwards, and he's beating the crap out of him. And Anthony was like, okay, I'll bet you, let me play one more time. And then apparently that's when all communication stopped. So he posted the receipt, and he says, hey, that's $22,000. And at the bottom, he says, he asked him for his money, and then Anthony Edwards says, no, I want to play you again for it. And then he never shows up to play. And he says on this first one, he was like, oh, it's because I forgot I have to babysit my nephew today. All right. So then we go to this next one, and dude is like, all right, I'm going to need my money. And Anthony Edwards is like, no, I want to play. He wants to try to win his money back. And dude is like, nope, you need to play me at least half of the money you owe me before I play you again. And then after that, it kind of just goes quiet because he's just, Anthony Edwards is like, no, I don't want to pay you. I want to play you again. And then all the communication stops. So this professional, and here's the thing, kids, if you're not a professional Madden player, don't play a professional for money. Just throwing it out there. But then he said that this isn't about the money. So the professional Madden player says, bro, this isn't about me getting the money. I'm trying to save y'all from playing this millionaire pro athlete for money and losing and paying him, even though he probably won't pay you if he loses. So let me just tell you, first of all, Anthony Edwards is very young. I can tell you for sure, back when I was Anthony's age, I was a sore loser. I'm not a much better loser now, but I was horrible then. And I did not want to pay up bets. And I would do all kinds of different things. I would disappear. I'd stop going to functions to stop paying people they bets. Right. But now I got this whole show, Challenge Accepted, and I don't even know how many bets I got to pay out. It's a lot. And it's all stuff that I don't want to do. But it's part of the fun, right? You made the bet. You got to lie in it now. You should definitely pay this man his money. Maybe try to because on a rookie salary, I don't know what $22,000 looks like. Plus, you probably got hazed by your team and had to buy them like a $22,000 dinner at one point. This is a lot of money, but don't make the bet if you can't pay the bet. You're still my rookie of the year, though. I just want to let you know that. But Devin, this is embarrassing for Anthony, I think. I think this is a bad look for him.
It's a very bad look for him, especially because we do know he is, compared to most young kids his age, or I don't want to say kids, but most young men his age, he is making bank. Even with, having to do the hazing, paying for the rookie dinners and all of that, he's making very, very good money. So if it means, if he's paying somebody what they're owed, like, it's not going to hurt as much as the new grad who's working as like an accountant or whatever, so right. I think he absolutely should be paying out this person. He definitely makes enough money to handle it. It might hurt for a couple months, but it's wrong to withhold money that somebody is owed. And it sucks because Anthony Edwards seems like such an honest, good kid. And then there's this. And it's like, I don't like that. I don't like seeing him in this light.
Yeah, and I will say this. Just my advice to not only Anthony Edwards, but everybody in the chat. He shows gambling addiction behavior to me, because that's very typical in gambling addiction. Instead of just paying what you owe and calling it, you want to keep playing to try to win your money back, that's how people lose their whole fortunes, because they just keep trying to get that big win. So I would suggest, Anthony, that you pay this man his money and never gamble again, ever. Because this is that behavior that gets people in trouble. Cut it off now. This is not your lane, my guy. Do something else. Like, I don't know, play basketball. Do that. All right. So now let's go on. Let's go on to this next one, because this no-name person decided that he's going to come out here and tell us some truth that we haven't seen anywhere else about Cam Newton. Now, you guys know that Cam Newton hurt his finger in that Patriots practice. And now here's this guy that's chiming in on the notice of, hey, Cam hurt his hand. So Jeff Howe says Cam Newton injured his right hand in the middle of practice and didn't finish the workout. Mac Jones and Jarrett Stidham rotated the number 1 reps over the final 3 periods, blah, 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 blah. And then this guy, Josh Adams, says it's cover up for his fight on Wednesday night with his brother. Who is this person? And this guy literally went to every single person who was talking about Cam's hand. He went over there and posted something. This is the second one I have from him. And he's saying this over and over. He says he got into a fight Wednesday night, Pat. Feel like this is a cover up. Oh, it happened during practice. Unless they got video of it happening, I'm calling BS. Sir, unless you got video of this fight, I'm calling BS. This is ridiculous. He posted, I think I found another one where he was just literally following people around saying, that's a tough take, man. I can confirm this is a lie. How can you confirm? Were you there, sir? He says, I confirm this is a lie. I'm not saying he hurt his hand. Just a coincidence that he got in a fight with his bro. And then his throwing hand, which is probably his dominant punching hand, gets hurt 2 days later. Okay, let me show y'all something. Let me show you this guy, Josh, Let me show him to you. And you tell me, does this look like the guy that got insight on Cam Newton's family life? Does he? Because I can tell you this guy is not being invited to the cookout. I can promise you that. So how would he know that Cam Newton and his brother got in a fight? How do you know? How do you know? Devin?
So here is my my only potential idea is that he was at Mastro's when the fight went down, so he saw it happen. Like, I don't think he's getting insight.
That doesn't
He
look
doesn't
like
have
a Mastro's.
It does not look like a Mastro's guy. That's a good point, Jackie. Actually, I have no argument for that. I have no argument at all. He does not look like a Mastro's guy, but that's the only way I could say that. And also, how would he even know if he did see this fight go down? How would he even know if Cam's hand got hurt in the fight or at practice? Like, and also, why is he making it his personal journey and his personal responsibility to go out and challenge every single outlet that's posting about this? Like, what do you get out of this, bro? Go back to Mastro's.
Right. I mean, I feel like somebody would have said, oh, you know, when Cam left, he was holding his hand. You know, there would have been some other leak that said, you know, he was visibly hurt. Yeah, stop it. Stop it. Go back to wherever you came from, Josh. You haven't been invited to the cookout, and I can assure you, you will not be now. So let's move on to this next one, because this next one, for you baseball heads in the chat, I definitely want to know what you feel about this one, because let me just explain it for those of you guys who are probably like me and Devin and don't watch a lot of baseball. So we can just kind of figure this out. So if you don't know what spider tack is, it's like this sticky paste that can increase the spin on pitches. And just so you know how sticky it is, I had never heard of this because I don't really watch baseball. I had never heard of this in baseball. I knew about spider tack because I watch a lot of the strongman competitions. I love strongman. And they use it when they're carrying those big, giant, I don't know what they're called, like Atlas stones, I think, that they carry. They use this spider tack for that. So for y'all, that's very, very sticky. It just don't seem like, it seemed like it'd be too sticky for baseball to me, but apparently it's not. But now the baseball MLB is planning on formalizing some sort of enforcement protocols and penalties. Like maybe, I don't know what the penalties will be, but maybe like you're going to check guys to make sure they're not using this because they feel like it should be on the foreign substance list. So now knowing all that and knowing that, I think they started talking about that last week about possibly putting this on the foreign substance list. Knowing that, I want you to listen to Garrett Cole and his answers on how does he use this or not? Because this is what you shouldn't do. You should be prepared. Don't stumble like this because you automatically look guilty. But take a look.
And have you ever used spider tack while pitching?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know if. I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest. I mean, there are customs and practices that have been passed down from older players to younger players, from the last generation of players to this generation of players, and you know, I think there are some things that are certainly out of bounds in that regard, and I've stood pretty firm in terms of that, in terms of the communication between our peers and whatnot. You know, and I, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's, you know, this is important to a lot of people that love the game. This is including the players in this room, including fans, including, you know, teams. And so if MLB wants to, you know, legislate some more stuff, that's a conversation that we can have.
That poor man, he was not ready. He stopped so hard. When I first watched this, I thought that I had an internet error. I thought that my screen had frozen because, like, I don't. That man didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He did not move. This is hilarious to me. I'm voting guilty. Devin, do you think he's guilty? Do you think he uses this spider tack?
Imagine if I came on this show and I said, you know, I don't think he's using it. There is no way this man, like it looked like in that moment when he just froze, he was like one of those animatronic dolls or toys and somebody like turned the off switch on. Like someone turned him off for a second and then turned him back on, and he's like rambling, doesn't know what to say. Dude, it's a simple yes or no. You could have, if you don't want to admit it, lie and say no. But this just proves 100% that you are guilty. It's a yes. That was a hard yes. Like, no question about it. For sure a yes. Yeah. And he looks like an idiot.
So embarrassing, because like, boy, if you don't say something, you look like a fool out here. What are you doing? It's like that little, I know you guys remember that guy, that little kid, when they asked him something, it's like, that's what he reminded me of. I was like, boy, whew, good laughs. We had so many good laughs on this episode. We're going to change all of that laughs. And now we're going to get into what we're not going to do, because this one, we're going to put the joy back in you later, but it's going to suck the joy out of you a little bit, because this one's ridiculous. So you remember back in February, right? We told you about Britt Reid, who is Andy Reid's son. He got on this car accident coming off an off-ramp from the freeway, going 84 miles an hour, and he hit a car that ended up hitting another car. So he ended up hitting two vehicles. One, there was a 5-year-old girl in the back. I believe her name is Ariel. Yes, Ariel Young, and she ended up going to the hospital. They thought she was going to die, but she ended up coming out of it. But now her life is going to be, she's going to have mental challenges for the rest of her life. What she could have been, we will never know, because Britt Reid ruined that. Not only did he ruin that, when they pulled him over, he admitted to doing prescription drugs and drinking and driving 84 miles an hour off the freeway. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not know what white privilege looks like, you need to follow this story, because knowing that he did this, knowing that he has completely ruined this young lady's life to the point where his dad was like, I am so sorry this happened. And that's got to be an embarrassment for his dad too. I get that. But knowing all that, this fool went into court, even though his blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit, 2 hours after the incident, because they had to let him even come down a little bit, because they had to do emergency growing surgery on him. They couldn't do the emergency growing surgery right away because he had too many substances in his system. They had to let him come down a little bit and let him writhe in pain until they could actually take him into the emergency room, which is good. He needed every piece of that pain. But this fool went into court and pleaded not guilty. Not guilty is what he had the unmitigated gall to plead, knowing that he is actually guilty of this. Now, in my head, I'm like, so what? He pleads not guilty. You know, any judge worth her weight's not going for it. He should sit in jail until this trial happens. But not only is that not going to happen, Jackson County Court Judge Karen, also known as Jessica Angeli, she decided that the condition that he could not drive if he was released was mistakenly added to his bond report. And she decided that this man can go out now and he can drive a car. But to appease the prosecution, she said, okay, well, we'll put this ignition thing in. So he has to blow in it, and he has to prove that he's not intoxicated before he can actually drive the car. I do not care. First of all, this man his driving privileges should have been revoked a long time ago, because you guys remember he got into that incident in 2007 where he had an incident with road rage, and he pled guilty then. Now you're not pleading guilty now, even though you knew you did it. But in 2007, you pled guilty to gun and drug charges. He was doing drugs then, and he used a gun in a road rage incident. And then he had another DUI not too long after that. This is too much. This man should not be driving, but because he is, this is the caucasity judge system. That's what this is. Like, she's like, no, you know what? It's okay. I'm just going to let him drive as long as he blows into this little thing. He can still drive. His life shouldn't be changed in any way just because his 5-year-old girl life is ruined. This is just, he's Brett. He's one of me. He's me. I'm going to let this happen. Y'all, what we not going to do is I don't know how we as a community can figure out a way to stop. Like, first of all, this judge should get off the bench. You should not be on the bench anymore. This is ridiculous. This man has a long history of doing this. You should get off the bench if you are not going to stop this man from driving. Whatever we need to do, we need to figure that out. Number two, even if he's convicted of this, the most he can spend in jail is 7 years. 7 years. And that's all he can spend in jail for ruining this little girl's life, and you're giving him his driving privileges back. I don't know what else to say. I can't say that I'm disappointed because I've lived in America my whole life, but this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We definitely need to figure out a way to do better and not only hold these people accountable, we need to hold these judges accountable who are allowing this to happen. So that's all I got for what we're not going to do. This makes no sense to me.
This doesn't make any sense to me either. I think this is absolutely horrendous and a huge failure of the legal system here. Super, super tragic. This man should never be allowed to drive. This man should be on, I think, house arrest for the rest of his life. I mean, this is just outrageous to me. And I feel so sorry for that little girl and her family. All right, you guys. Well, we are at the end of our time here at the show. So we're going to be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So don't forget to tune in, subscribe, leave a comment below, share this video with your friends. Let us know if you're from suburbia like Nikola Jokic. Tell us. We'd love to know. Any suburbians in here? And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Don't forget challenge update at 1 p.m. Don't forget.
Oh, yes. Yes, challenge accepted.
I will be watching from suburbia.
Woo-hoo!